What is up, guys? Connor here from Geek on Your Face, and today we're going to be going over an Exodius, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord Instant Win deck. Now if you guys are unfamiliar, an Instant Win deck is any deck that aims to win you the duel by not putting your opponent's life points down to 0 or making them deck out. So it's by using a card effect that basically says you instantly win the duel, which Exodius accomplishes by sending cards when he attacks to your graveyard once per turn. So basically what he does is he attacks and you pick up a piece of Exodia and you put it in the graveyard, and once all 5 pieces of Exodia go to the graveyard using his effect, you instantly win the duel. So it's a little bit more reliable than a normal Exodia deck, being that, you know, if you do this correctly, it should only take you 5 turns to win, or 5 turns after you summon Exodius, rather. And it's not really played the same way as an Exodia deck. Exodia deck that I have, you can see it on the channel. You can go to the playlist, it's in the best deck series. It's more of a stall deck and kind of like a survival kind of safety deck. This deck you have to play a little bit more aggressive. You should still play it careful because, you know, you don't want Exodius to, you know, fucking go in your graveyard, because that would be pretty bad. There is 2 Exodiuses in this deck though, so you can get another shot at it, as well as being a higher chance to draw into him during any given draw phase. And this deck is kind of, it's a little bit weird in that there are some cards you might not see in it, but during the recipe portion we'll get into it a lot. This deck does take advantage of fairy type monsters. Now the reason why I'm using a lot of fairy type monsters is because I'm running Tethys, and Tethys' effect allows you to draw a card whenever you draw into a fairy type monster. So more card draw, sustainable card draw like Tethys, which I just drew into right now, is good because most of the deck is fairy type monsters, and it's important to draw as many cards as you can, trying to get Exodius as fast as you can. The sooner you get him in the duel, the easier time he's going to have to survive, because, you know, less powerful monsters will be on the field, allowing him to power up and stay on the field. Because Exodius gets 1,000 attack points for every normal monster in your graveyard, so it's really, really important that you kind of play into that. You see I use Deep Diver here, and that allows me to put Exodius onto the top of my deck, ensuring that I will draw him next turn. So that's a really awesome way of getting him. Here we go. We have Exodius now. Before we put Exodius down, we're going to make sure that we can protect him. Now there's a card in the field that has 2,700 attack points, so because we have Axe of Despair, which is good for keeping getting Exodia nice and powered up right on the first turn, basically giving him 2,000 attack points right when you summon him. But it's still not enough, so what we're going to do is we're going to set up a play here beforehand. We're going to put Marshmallow Glasses down in the field, which makes it so that our opponent must attack Marshmallow if it is face up on the field, which I just put down, so he should attack into the Marshmallow this turn, and then after that we can put Exodius down in the field because it will be protected, because he can attack the Exodius, giving us ample time. If he were to eventually destroy the Marshmallow or the Marshmallow Glasses somehow, that would enable us to have Exodius powerful enough so that he could, you know, kind of stand on his own and not get destroyed. Exodius is summoned by having all your grave monsters in your graveyard being put back into the deck. So you could use Exodius in a deck that is not even for Exodia, really, because it's just an awesome way of refreshing your deck, you know. But anyway, we're going to summon Exodius right now. We're going to equip him with Axe of Despair, giving him 1,000 attack points. And because we're going to be putting in a normal monster into the graveyard, he's going to wind up with 2,000 attack points. And now, it's always a good idea to put the head of Exodia, like the Exodia the Forbidden One card, in last, so that you can always pump up Exodia's attack points as much as you can. So you want to put the normal monster, the normal pieces of Exodia, in the graveyard first. You see he's up to 2,000 attack points now, and you really just want to make sure Exodius is safe 100% of the time, and you also want to make sure that you don't put any pieces of Exodia in the graveyard except by his effect, because it won't work. You won't instantly win the duel if any of the pieces of Exodia go in there by not using his effect, basically. So here we go. I'm going to tribute 1 Marshmallow to summon Tethys, so I can get card draw. It's really, really helpful in this deck to have a lot of card draw. It gives you always solutions and stuff, which is important in an Exodia deck. One thing I really wanted to go over too as well is these videos, the instant win like mini series I'm doing, It's not to be confused with the best deck series. It's with decks like Instant Wins that are so popular, there's always different variations of the deck, and it's really hard to come up with one ultimate deck that's always going to win, that's going to be super consistent all the time. I'm not saying that there aren't decks like that, but this is more of a showcase of an individual card that is in this game. It's not supposed to be absolutely the best version of Exodius, you know, that there possibly is. Because obviously there's different cards for different situations that, you know, you can always run into, and one might not be good against another deck. So take everything in here with a grain of salt. You know, you don't even need to use fairies at all. You can use whatever you want to, basically. But right now we have 3 pieces of Exodia in the graveyard, I do believe, and we're basically just going to be keeping on attacking with Exodius here. We can tell because we have 5,000 attack points, plus the Axe of Despair must mean that we have 4 in our graveyard now, and the last piece is going to be the Head of Exodia. You can actually use Exodius to just be a standalone monster by himself. As you can see, he has 5,000 attack points. That's pretty beastly, right? So he's a good card on himself, basically. You don't really need to have an Exodia in the deck for him to be viable. I don't think. He's a great way of refreshing your graveyard and putting cards back into your deck if you so choose to. Now you see I'm using a lot of weird fairy types, and they're all normal so that you can pump up Exodius. But right now we're going to go in the recipe portion, and I will explain why that is. First off, Exodius is the ultimate Forbidden Lord. Obviously the very important card in this deck. There's 2 of them. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by shuffling all monsters in your graveyard into your deck. Blah blah blah. We basically went over his effect quite thoroughly in the duel. If there are 5 different Forbidden 1 cards in your graveyard that were sent there by this card's effect, you win the duel, that being the important part of the card. Gigako Tenno Megami, basically, the normal fairy type monsters in this deck are not completely very important to talk about, because they are normal cards, so there's not a whole lot that goes into them, and they're just for card draw, really, once it comes down to it, with the effect of Tethys. There's not a whole reason to really go over them a lot, you know. But Deep Diver is a very important card to go over. It allows you to place a monster from your deck on the top of your deck, ensuring that you can draw it next turn. Effect Failure, pretty awesome card, especially in a deck like this where it's important to have control over the board. Honest is always good in a deck that revolves around light monsters, really. It's always a useful card to have. Marshmallow is a very important card in this deck because it helps protect Exodius when he cannot do so himself with the effect of Marshmallow Glasses. Nova Summoner is a very good way to summon Marshmallow if you're having trouble drawing into him, which you shouldn't because there's 3 of them. Tethys, when this card is face up on the field, when you draw a fairy type monster or monsters, you can reveal one of those monsters to draw excuse me, 1 more card. Very useful. Axe of Despair, 3 of them because you want to pump up Exodius right when he gets on the field so that he actually stands a chance against some other monsters. Dark Hole, destroy all monsters on the field. Obviously, very self-explanatory card, and it's a fairly good card. Marshmallow Glasses, pretty self-explanatory. You guys saw how they worked in the duel. Mystical Space Typhoon, yep. Paw Duality, and then 2 Mirror Forces. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're coming to a close, and the final countdown will be the last of the Instant Win deck series, and well, the ones that you can have in Millennium Duels anyway. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy. I actually still have to do Puppet Leo, I think. So we're gonna go over that as well. I will see you guys in the next video, and goodbye!